So I think there's a lot of dialogue that needs to happen between the telcos, Hutch as well, with different institutions to make digital more relevant and progressive and remove these barriers that are mingling in people's head, which we may take for granted, but they're actually big hurdles that needs to be crossed and convinced to the people.
Thing is this, Hamdhy, I mean, one thing that we obviously notice, the fact is that yes, we're trying to push a digitally driven economy. Clearly with a cashless economy is what we really want to look forward to, and most of the countries have actually adopted a cashless economy. However, like you said, by addressing the fact that yes, there is a generation that is requiring or that it doesn't trust is one thing, and that actually will only work with what they're comfortable with, which is cash. But if as an economy we are driving ourselves, if we are driving towards a cashless or a digital economy, I still don't understand certain institutions that say cash only. There are certain, possibly supermarkets, they have a separate counter that says cash only. I mean, all these attributes do not necessarily help what the larger picture of the telcos and fintechs obviously want to push this country forward, does it?
Yeah, there is a limitation, and I think what is important is for us to understand why those particular endpoints are wanting to deal with cash only. Some of it is, should I say, we may need to look at the fees that may be attached to digital payments.
Right.
The other is that some of the most convenient payment platforms which are available around the world aren't here yet in Sri Lanka.
Okay.
Right. So I'm just picking up some experience that I have from India, our close neighbor. Google Pay is one of the most prominent ways of making payment, digital payment. Then they have also Paytm over there. So some of the global payment platforms, if it was here, I guess it may be a bit more different to the context that we have. It's just that we need to open up.
Right.
I'm sure the central bank and the government are looking at these, and hopefully that we can match up to the rest of the world sometime soon. And alongside that, there is also, it's not that Sri Lanka can't do a Paytm. It's just that I think everybody is trying to do electronic wallet or a cash
payment
wallet,
gateway,
which ends up that too many competitors, no one really gets established as a
right.
So it's important that things are done in collaboration and not in silos and isolation, and everybody is trying to compete with everyone on everything. So it's better that all of the efforts are put into one and create one great system that everybody can use.
Right.
Right. So I think there is a fragmentation that needs to get corrected. So I can understand the pains of an end shop if he needs to have wallet receipts of bank A, bank B, bank C. It's too much complicated.
That's right. That's right.
We need to simplify. Right. User journey for the customer has to be simple, and the user journey and transactional journey for the merchant also has to be simple.
Now, if you're looking at the telcos obviously the telecom industry is also emerging, really fast. It's moving fast now. Of course, we're talking about 5G, then we're talking about AI, which obviously is also a new technology, which is sort of changing the world and transforming the way the operators actually function. What are the biggest challenges facing telecom operators in Sri Lanka today, and how is Hutch actually addressing them moving on?
Yeah, so one of the biggest challenges, like I said, is the cost of operating.
Right.
We have to invest in multi-million dollars. We earn in rupees. Making an investment is not an easy case, especially as we are operating at a, should I say, currency which is depleted by nearly 50% in the last 2-3 years. So some good positive stride is that it has made some recovery, but we are still 50% off from our investments that have been made. That is in terms of the capital expenditure,
Right.
cost of capital expenditure. Having said that, Hutch and the other telcos are delivering data reach to nearly 95% or more of the population. So in terms of, I think, the accessibility to data services, we have made some good ground collectively as an industry, but we still have the last few percent, which is the most expensive part for us to invest on. Investing in a fairly urban, suburban area, it's a bit more practical, because you can still get enough of revenues to recover that investment. But when we go into the deep remote areas where the population number of households might be under 100, 200, but we still want to give digital accessibility, is a very expensive affair. So this is one challenge, which is getting the internet across to the last 2-3% of the population. But there are positive strides, which the regulator, the TRC, is working with telcos and Hutch to do more like a, should I say, a co-partnered program where both invest in taking that internet accessibility to the bottom of the pyramid. This is in terms of capital expenditure.
Right.
Then we have the operating expenditure, which is the cost of electricity. Whether the tower is used at whatever time of the day or not, the tower needs to be switched on.
That's right.
Right. Whether there are power cuts or not, tower has to work.
Right.
Right. So the operating expenditure of running infrastructure is also escalated quite heavily. Fuel is up, which we need to pump for the generators in case of a breakdown. Obviously, electricity bills are much higher than what we were. And as a result, general inflation has also uplifted everything. So we have a challenge, and the telco industry in Sri Lanka has not been easy. We have seen many big names in and out, and those who can run most efficient cost structures are the ones who will be able to play a big part in the digital journey for Sri Lanka and the digital transformation. So our challenge is, should I say, cost of operating and cost of investing. But again, we also see that so much is possible, is getting all of the parties together to really make use of our digital technologies that we are deploying, also the communication technologies that we are deploying, into bringing real use cases to people, new use cases to people, which is beyond us selling GBs and minutes.
Right.
Is bringing real use cases that can actually enrich lives of people as part of our telecom journey, which is uplift human lives.
It's beyond connectivity, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I mean, that is something I suppose all telcos have sort of established the fact.
Yeah.
Maybe 10-15 years ago, that was the drive in terms of a telco.
Yeah.
Connectivity was the drive. Now everything's actually gone beyond connectivity, especially with the increase in technological advancements on a daily basis. Like I said, 5G, AI. I mean, even if you look at, for example, blockchain that's actually going to be coming in, or which has been spoken about to actually sort of come in, though. How would initiatives like that, obviously, what are you looking at in terms of how can telecoms redefine their roles as operators in the digital economy when you look at things like this?
Yeah. So, Shaq, you're quite right. You are much beyond. We are far beyond just communication service provider. It's beyond connectivity. Today, we have deployed something called the Open API Gateway. It allows enterprises locally or globally to connect into our network. I am aware that our two other telco operators also, we are collaboratively launching this, where global enterprises and local enterprises can also access verification services, intelligences, information services that can help improve their business efficiency, help improve their business processes, customer processes, leveraging on intel that we can provide. I'll just give an example. I think as part of our thought leaders, I'm sure some of them would have come and spoken about cybersecurity.
Of course.
Right? About payment security, payment services. What role can we play over there? Is that we know there's so much of fraud happening. I think about 2 to 3% of transactions are going, as I recall from a reading that I've had earlier, can potentially be fraud. But the banks have no way of verifying the transaction is genuine or not. The conventional way which is happening as of now is you receive an SMS when an attempt for an online transaction is done. It gets an OTP number which you feed into the portal, and transaction goes through. But there are more advanced services that we are able to offer now. For example, we can actually check that the internet session that was originating is actually originating from that original user's device.
Right.
So if it's Shaq trying to do an online transaction, is the device that is accessing the internet actually the one that you have registered with?
Okay.
Right. There are other things like KYC. Suppose I'll just take an example. You are going into a supermarket. The supermarket has a loyalty program for which you need to fill. I think conventionally you need to fill a membership form.
Right.
Right. And it has got a mobile number. So it's a most of the time if you're in a rush, you won't have time to do it, and you will end up not doing it. You lost an opportunity. The supermarket's lost an opportunity. But what if all of that membership information, you just give a permission, the shopkeeper asks for your number and says, can we take all your membership information, your KYC, which is your personal address, name, details, can you authenticate to take it from Hutch or the telco service provider?
Right.
So no filling of forms. All you will get is an SMS saying, yes, just grab my membership information or my personal details from my telco service provider, and within few seconds it is already in the loyalty program database of that particular merchant.
Right.
So we can we have a lot of information about customers which we can, with customer consent, make available to enterprises locally, globally. So this can enhance e-commerce, it can enhance user journeys, it will remove away friction of processes, and consumer benefits and the merchant benefits or the institution benefits. So there are many roles that we are able to play in terms of enriching information services to customers and to enterprises alike. I would think that next to Google, telcos have the most amount of information that is available for us to better personalize and provide better services to our customers, and also to enable such information to be made available based on customer consent into improving their user journeys that they have with third-party institutions.
Interesting. We're basically into the final few minutes of our final episode of Meet the Tech Titans. Hamdhy is, of course, the CMO of Hutch. Hutch, of course, have come on board to assist us in pushing the Thought Leadership podcast series out to everybody out there. Hamdhy, as our final question, looking into Hutch's future plans, what long-term vision for digital transformation does Hutch actually have and looking forward to, and how does it plan to stay ahead in this rapidly evolving industry? I mean, we've sort of basically we'll sort of put together that we are beyond connectivity. E-commerce is something that Hutch or telcos really need to look at, and also facilitating an inclusive and empowering community in the digital transformation business. How does Hutch basically look forward into the digital transformation?
Yeah, like I said, Shaq, I think is a space which is always revolutionizing.
Yeah.
Digital is evolving from one league to another. 2 years ago, AI was not a big thing, but suddenly AI is exploding.
It's the thing now.
It's the thing, right? There's the data sciences. There are so many domains that's propping up, and we see that Sri Lanka its digital journey seriously is only just beginning to start. And I think it's great that the new administration has put up a new vertical in the government for the development and transformation of digital and creating the digital economy. As I mentioned, everything is going to require the telco service providers to make those possible.
Right.
Either to host the services or to render the services back to the consumers. And for the creation of digital economy, the underlying layer is the telcos. So the telcos needs to make sure that we are ready to plug in the payment services, different applications, the network experience to deliver the right experience that is required to run those applications. So our role is to make sure that as the connecting layer that we have all pipes accessible for any party who is requiring to host their service on a digital ecosystem. So hence, as I mentioned, the Open API gateway does not require the developer or the enterprise to do major developments. What would few years ago take days and weeks to develop now can be done in a matter of an hour, hour or two. So our role is making sure that we are the enabler, hosting all the applications that are required to create this digital economy on our infrastructures.
Brilliant. Hamdhy, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yep,
It's been an absolute pleasure having you.
Thank you so much, Jack, and thanks for putting this together. And I would also like to thank all the thought leaders who have kindly and extended their valuable time to come and join this thought leadership series to share valuable knowledge to our Sri Lankan people at mass and all the aspiring youth, the entrepreneurs, small, large alike, who find useful points that they can take away from here to make their businesses and their lives and Sri Lanka stronger and better.
And I strongly believe we have a lot to actually offer more in terms of thought leadership, because we've just done 8 pods for this series, and the amount of information, honestly, Hamdhy, that's out there is mind-boggling. And some of the stuff that our Sri Lankans are actually doing out there, it honestly needs to be brought out. I mean, Sri Lanka needs to know about it. And I think hopefully with the continuation of Meet the Tech Titans, the Thought Leadership Series, I'm sure we'll be able to actually bring out these individuals, bring them out, let the world know about them, and let Sri Lanka know about them and see how things go about. But it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show, Hamdhy. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. That basically comes to a conclusion as far as our Thought Leadership podcast series is concerned. Meet the Tech Titans. And over the last couple of weeks, we gave you some phenomenal names, individuals who really set the bar high for themselves and also the technological industry. Individuals who are just quietly going about doing their thing, but making sure they are continuously pushing the needle in terms of digital transformation. Every single step that they take in the world of digital actually brings pride to Sri Lanka. So I would also like to say a big thank you to all the thought leaders who actually graciously came over on our show, and thank you so much for being a part of the series of Meet the Tech Titans. And hopefully we're basically letting you know that we'll see you back in season 2 of Meet the Tech Titans right here. A big thank you going out to Hutch for coming on board and assisting us with the podcast series, and a very big thank you also going out to Liquid Spaces to extending their venue for us to actually shoot the entire series. Till we meet again in another podcast right here on PodHub, you have yourself a lovely day.